Hi, this is Jeff Mullin from University of Buffalo here, welcoming you to another Scoliosis Dialogues on the SRS podcast. Today, I'm honored to join a friend and mentor of mine, Dr. Justin Smith, who is the Harrison Distinguished Professor and Director of Spine Surgery at the University of Virginia. Today, we're going to discuss the SRS's research agenda. So I guess first, Justin, you want to maybe give a little bit more detailed introduction of yourself and your involvement in the SRS before we get into the meat of the podcast?
Of course. Thanks, Jeff. As Jeff mentioned, I'm Justin Smith. I'm at the University of Virginia. I've been involved with the SRS now for about 15, 16 years. I'm currently the chair or the research council elect for the board representation of the various research related committees. Doug Burton is the current research council chair, and I'll be filling in for him as he steps down as of the end of the SRS meeting this fall. So I look forward to helping bring forward the research agenda and making it a successful 3-year term.
And so tell us a little more about the research agenda, because research is such a crucial part of all the SRS. So what facet of that is this agenda?
Of course. Well, as they say, research is the SRS's middle name. We are promote research. We don't do a lot of research ourselves, but we certainly promote research among our members. And we actually put forward a lot of money every year in research grants. It's a big priority for our society. And the research agenda started back in January of 2019. And a research task force was developed and met. And one of the outcomes of that group's work was to recommend increased grant funding through the SRS. Prior to that, they'd mostly been smaller grants. And then in July of 2019, the board approved this recommendation, and they recommended a $150,000 per year funding for directed research. So a specific topic would be put out for requests for proposals, and then it would be funded at the level of $150,000 per year, typically for 3 years. So that's almost $500,000 put forward to an important topic. And since the SRS was putting so much money into this research grant, we wanted to define really the key areas of research, because it's a directed research grant, meaning we put forward the topic that we would like to have studied. And what we did is establish a formal process to meet with the various stakeholders. And these stakeholders were industry partners, various spine deformity study groups, NIH representation, and of course, we surveyed our membership too. And then from this process, we would create an SRS research agenda with a list of topics that were important among our stakeholders. And then from this list, the board of directors would be surveyed and identify one of these top topics to have as the directed research grant for the application process.
And so when that one is selected, how does that sort of affect membership?
Well, then, sir, it's typically opened up for applications for members to apply for the grant funding. And this time around, this cycle started again just this past year. We've had one cycle already of this research agenda process and a directed research grant. And the one is, as many out there know, the one that was selected for the first cycle was long-term outcomes of operative and or non-operative treatment of adolescent idiopathic scoliosis. And so looking at 20 to 40-year outcomes of AIS surgery and non-operative treatment. And this work is well underway. And that's our first directed research topic. But again, Doug Burton and I started this process again in 2023. And we recently completed the months-long process of meeting with the long list of stakeholders to discuss priority areas in the field of spinal deformity.
So such a sort of all-encompassing process. I'm sure you got a lot of different topics that could have been considered, and maybe tell us some of those that were weeded out, or how did you go through that process, or some ones that are still consideration.
Oh, absolutely. The 12 topics, if they haven't been published online, will be soon. They're all wonderful topics, and it's interesting that there's some common threads, and a lot of our stakeholders had very similar suggestions for areas that needed further research. And for example, again, we're still working in the process of determining which one will be the directed research topic, and then how that will be handled as far as RFP. That's a work in progress. But some of these topics, for example, one of them is application of predictive analytics and AI to spine deformity care. And that can include things like classification, management decisions, complications, and outcomes assessment. And so that's an area that was very well represented among the stakeholders as far as an area that we should be focusing on to do further research. Another one, for example, is studying the utility and limitations of enabling technologies. You know, we have robotics and 3D planning and other enabling technologies, but we don't completely understand the best ways that these should be applied and what their benefits are and limitations. And so that was an area that a lot of our stakeholders mentioned would be worthwhile studying further. Another one was outcomes measures. You know, as we have our SRS 22 outcomes measure that has been used for some time, but otherwise we have fairly limited outcomes measures, and the SRS 22 is imperfect as well. So we need to create better outcomes measures. And so that was another topic that came up commonly among our stakeholders.
So just one thing here. You mentioned the list is available online. So for our listeners, we will put a link, I guess, on the website and sort of access that. And just to, I guess, reiterate what you're saying, the SRS research agenda is a long-term process. So these are for a 6-year goal. So a lot of things you're trying to evaluate, you're also trying to look forward in the future, how it's going to be changing over the next 6 years. So it seems to me there's a lot of sort of two overarching themes. One is the new technology, how AI or things are going to change our field. The other one is the more data leading into those things with the report outcomes or data sets.
Right, exactly. One thing I'd clarify is if this list isn't online already, it should be soon. So if it's not there, it'll be coming before too long. Currently, the process is every 3 years, although we're still early on. This is only the second time we've done the process of establishing the research agenda formally with the review with the stakeholders. There has been some discussion of expanding this to every 5 years. That would give more time for the directed research topic to come to fruition, more time to collect all the data and to do the analyses. And it would also you know, things change a lot in spine and research, but do they change that fast every 3 years, the key topics? And I think looking out 5 years rather than 3 years, we're leaning more toward that. So it may turn into a 5-year process.
So it seems like a really sort of laborious effort on you and Dr. Burton's part to consolidate all these parties and come up with a good agenda. And also just doing the research yourself takes a lot of sort of effort. Are there opportunities for other SRS members to sort of offer their services to you guys in the next iteration of this, you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think that could be something we could look into. You know, the Research Council chair is really a conduit between the various research-related committees and the board. A lot of the work gets done in the SRS at the committee level and at the task force level. So I would encourage members to apply when the call comes out for those interested in committees. A lot of the work happens at the committee level. So getting involved at the committee level, as for example, in the Research Grants Committee or Safety and Value Committee, allows members to be involved in the research aspects of the SRS.
So you mentioned you're still in the process of whittling down from this 12 to sort of the main focus. Is there a timeline on that, or will that be announced sort of ceremoniously at the annual meeting?
Stay tuned. It's coming. It's coming soon. We want to make sure we define it right, but it should be coming out in the next few months. So hopefully by the end of the year.
Very good. I guess any other comments you have on the research agenda going forward, or maybe looking back at some of the accomplishments from the previous agendas?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 12 topics, once they're posted, I think they're all areas that have been defined as needing further research. Obviously, there are a lot of areas that need further research, but these were the ones that were coming up as common threads among our stakeholders. And I'd encourage members to look at the list and think about maybe research projects that they could do. These could even be good starting points for grant applications for the various other grants. The directed research grant is, of course, the largest amount of money that we offer, but there are several other research grants all the way from new members and small grants to start a project up through medium-sized grants. And so I would encourage members to apply for those grants. And it's a very a fair process where it's a committee that reviews them and provides feedback. And I would encourage members to look at these topics. And it doesn't mean you have to use these topics in the research agenda to apply, but they are areas that have been defined as important from our stakeholders.
And as you said already, I like that line about research is the SRS's middle name. Research is important to all of our members, and so I'm sure there's a lot of people involved in research who look forward to getting involved in these projects.
Yes, absolutely. Please do apply. We did a survey recently where we looked at the number of members who've been involved in a spinal deformity project in the last 3 years. The last time we did this survey, it was 76%, and that has jumped to 83% of respondents now. So we see that our members are also very actively involved in research and not just clinical care, and I think that's a wonderful thing, and we want to stimulate that.
Great. 5 out of 6 of our members are doing active performing research. That's great. With that, I think that's a great overview of the research agenda. I look forward to, I guess, the final announcement coming up soon, and I will look forward to seeing you in Barcelona.
Wonderful. Thank you.